not looking good, boys. It's
It's
not
not.
looking good. Here we go. Boom.
Oh yeah, it's not looking. It's not looking good. Poly. What is what's polyhedron
What
network
is
doing here?
that?
But
Major
yeah,
market
it's
cap.
just kind of
What's live
interesting.
here? Live here is OG,
Yeah,
back from the dead.
was not expecting it to be in the third position on the heat map, but
Yeah,
okay.
that's some
Yeah,
real
yeah, live
crypto
fear.
boomer.
Wow.
Wow.
Pepe, that's a big swing. Doge, yeah, Doge. I mean, that's kind of a funny. Well, like now that Elon Musk left, it's like, what is the actual yeah, what is the what's left for Doge, man? I don't know. It's still the eighth largest token by market cap. So yeah,
I mean,
I'm
Doge
not
was a thing
surprised.
before Elon
Minus
Musk.
14.
Doge became a thing.
Yeah.
Doge, OG meme
It
coin.
was, yeah, it was like the only, it was like besides Bitcoin and ETH, it was like the only thing to yeah put up like a good performance in consecutive years. It's like one of the only tokens that survived um like through multiple cycles besides Bitcoin and ETH. So yeah, it is OG.
One of the few dino coins that hasn't gone quite extinct yet, but
Well, what about Shibu?
it's not dino.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I know enough.
Yeah,
It's still relatively early.
Mhm. Dino, it's like Litecoin, Dogecoin, maybe Dash, load of these like old school shitty proof of work coins that were just like spinning up out of nowhere. Like that was like the meta in like the early days. It was like you'd literally run to your computer and just try and like start mining some of these early PAL coins when they first came out. And now we just buy meme coins instead. So it's nothing really ever changes.
Yeah, I remember mining XRP back in the day. Not XRP, XR Monero.
Monero. Oh, okay.
Privacy
That's a
guy.
good one.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's been a bad investment, but
Yeah,
the
wait, what is the status of Monero on exchanges? Like, is it very liquid on exchanges, or has it actually been like delisted on some
it's been
venues?
delisted a lot. A lot of
Really?
places
Okay.
have delisted it because of its privacy attributes. So it's still actually doing pretty well. It's not doing as well as it could be, but it's still around. So
Yeah,
still
maybe it can
alive.
be one of those tokens that makes like those IRL, like these have the Bitcoin ATMs, and they charge like a 20% fee. So maybe Monero can be like the one coin to keep those IRL ATMs around, where you can't buy it on an exchange.
Yeah, there was a hacker that recently took like 100 million and put it into Monero,
Mhm.
and it spiked the price like 40%.
Wow.
so it's still around. People are still using it. They're finding ways to these coins never really die. They just lose mind share.
Yeah, it's a weird one, privacy coins, isn't it? Because at the moment there isn't crazy demand, but it's like the scary thing is if the day ever comes where you truly need to be using things like Zcash, Monero, Tornado Cash, like man, you probably got some pretty big problems in your life. But at the same time, like it's sort of like the emergency break glass if needed token of these environments. And let's hope we don't go to the dystopian future where we're all
Yeah,
transacting in
I
all
think
these different privacy
Roger
coins.
Ver could have used some Monero.
Yeah,
He could have used some Monero, man.
James Wynn could be using some Monero
Yeah,
too.
I think he needs more than Monero. I think he needs checking into a gambling rehab clinic. But you know,
Yeah, that's a pretty serious gambling habit right there.
yeah. Or is it just a? I mean, there's two ways of looking at the James Wynn guy. Like, there's like the one camp where it's like it's all just a psyop. He's hedged. He's hedged in other exchanges. Or there's like the other sort of dark theory that it's like CZ's sort of last stand against the competition coming from Hyperliquid, because all of a sudden he's complaining that his stops are being hunted, and then like a day later you see CZ saying, "Oh, we need a dark pool decks now. Yeah, it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
important."
That
And
is
it's like,
true.
come on, man. Like, you know, you got to at least sort of, at least chat us up a bit before you go in for the kill. Don't just try and like get my phone number straight away. Butter me up a bit, at least slightly.
Was it not confirmed? Like I thought it was confirmed that he got his money from like not exploits, but like through like some meme coin related activities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but he's definitely
I
being.
I think it's real.
Oh, I think he's real.
Yeah.
Even if you're hedged, you don't use a 40x leverage because it's too.
Yeah, that's a lot to hedge. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you don't hedge liquidations, so that's not quite how hedging works. So yeah, if you're yeah, he's also being hunted because his positions are live, and it's very easy to calculate the EV on that position. I mean, the big market makers can tell how much it takes to move the market and how much it would affect and when that would be liquidated, how much it would cost to liquidate it.
Why isn't this like a bigger conversation? Like I don't know.
I mean, it was kind of.
I mean, I think it's pretty standard. Like, in crypto, it's PvP. So, MEV bots, the whole, even like address poisoning, like every way that you can find a EV positive way to try to extract value, people are doing it in crypto. So, I mean, that's part of the game that you play. So if your position is out there in the public, it's pretty easy to calculate how much it would cost to push the price to the liquidation point.
Interesting. We got next week. We got Silhouette coming on, which is well, they'll always tell me I shouldn't use the term dark pools, but I don't know how to say it differently yet.
They gotta need some help on the ad copy.
Yeah,
on their marketing.
Crafting here.
We need like a more digestible term.
But basically, yeah, they're trying to handle that problem, right, where you can have positions without like people really understanding what's going on. I'm sure they do a better job of explaining it. Daniel, you want to go over like our market pulse real quick before we jump into the intro?
Yeah, you can go ahead and pull it up. We had a few. Yeah, we just had a few interesting metrics. This is Pulse. This is for our premium members. But yeah, I think every week we can go over a few interesting things. Like we have, right now a spike in the, it's actually both, right? So it's the perps and spot, some elevated DEX to SEX trading volumes. But yeah, obviously you can see right here the spot volumes is much more pronounced. Yeah, year to date, and 70% in the past week. So yeah, that is pretty significant. That's I think it's part of like a greater shift. Like you have all these meme coins, you have all these launch pads and stuff, like new tokens, right? Like, so the SEC just can't fully keep up with that. So I guess it is natural to see kind of like that. Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if it remains a little more elevated. Not exactly like perps. We see it's been more sticky, right? Like since even December, right? Mostly driven by hyper liquid. Yeah, I think for spot tokens, it's like dependent on meme coins and these, very like very fleeting things. So it's not going to be like as consistent as that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see like on average a higher average monthly ratio for DEX to SEX spot trading volumes. And then I think part of this was you can move to the Binance part. Yeah, the Binance, the BNB chain trading volumes are like very high in the past few weeks. So I think that is driven by like the Binance. I think it's the Binance Alpha Points program or something like that. Like something that is just not like, I don't know. It's not getting talked about that much. But yeah, right there. You can see it's like flip Solana in trading volumes on the chain, which is not I don't know, it could be yeah, it's like a off the timeline kind of a thing, right? I think Solana, like memes, all that stuff definitely dominates, like, the whole trenches thing, right? Like on the timeline. And then BNB chain's like a different kind of story. I don't know, less not less crypto native, but like just a different part. of crypto Twitter. So yeah, this is like a very large spike. Might not. I mean, we'll see how sustainable it is. But it's like a top down approach, right? Like from Binance to try and kickstart this activity on BNB chain. So that is pretty interesting to consider, like the role, I guess, of exchanges in on-chain volumes, because it seemed like pretty, yeah, like it wasn't that hard for them to just massively inflate BNB chain's trading volumes. So yeah, maybe you can see like Bybit with Mantle, like trying to do something similar. I don't know.
Interesting. All right. Cool. So that's a little bit of
You actually scroll down to the
overview.
last chart as well at the bottom. Yeah, it also shows it. Yeah, exactly. So right here, you can see like how much BNB chain has increased. Yeah, as a percent of against all the chains, right? So
Yep. It's crazy how much Solana has conceded basically after being like so
yeah,
dominant.
flips. I mean, it's flipped Solana by multiples, right? By
Yes.
over 3x. So I mean, I don't know how sustainable that could
What's
be.
being traded? What's being traded on BNB?
I have no. I actually have had no clue. Like, yeah, I mean, BNB chain's kind of like it's like a little bit of like not a mystery, but after DeFi, so that was a long time ago, like DeFi summer, those farming days. But yeah, after that, it's like not talked about very openly on the timeline. And then for a while, it was actually just like not as much activity. Like it still has a lot of TVL, but yeah, more recently, Binance team is definitely like promoted. Like CZ himself actually, like in the past couple months, has been like much more vocal in promoting BNB chain, trying to yeah, I don't know, like roll out some new upgrades and stuff like that.
Got it. All right. So to be continued. There are definitely like interesting things going on there. We just don't know what. We need to find out. We need to plan them all. All right, guys. Let's kick off the show proper. So everyone who's watching, welcome to Market Cap. Our new episode with WAGMi Ventures today. On Market Cap, we discuss market movements, current events, and trending narratives together with our guests. And yeah, we dive in a little bit deeper, explore the underlying themes. So today, I'm your host and moderator, Stefano, Director of Institutional Services at Alea Research. With me, I got Daniel, our research lead, and Darren, our analyst and panel contributor. And for our guests, we're joined by Stephen Chung, General Partner at WAGMi Ventures. Stephen, welcome to the show, man. It's good to catch you online this time. I always run into you at conferences, like just about everywhere. Tell us a little bit about WAGMi Ventures, your investment thesis, and your mandate.
Sure. Thanks for having us, Stefano. WAGMi Ventures, we're early stage VC fund. We primarily invest in infrastructure. What we mean by infrastructure is anything that another team can build a project on top of. So if it's a base layer DeFi protocol, like something like Aave on a new chain, that's something that we'll look at. If it's L1, L2 bridging, but a lot of that's already been done. We started in 2020, invested in quite a few projects. We're on our third fund right now, deploying our second, raising our third. Things are looking good. We've got some good investments maturing, but generally the landscape has changed a lot in the last 4 years, as does crypto. Everything in crypto does.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about my background. I started investing in crypto in 2015. Before that was doing financial management and just doing asset management for wealthy clients, high net worth individuals. Started reading about Bitcoin and actually heard about it in college way back when, even before then, but didn't invest because I thought it was a scam. And, obviously, and got back into it in 2015, which really kind of showed me the value of being in crypto. And been through a couple of cycles, seen the ups and downs, did angel checks, and that's what got me into a VC fund. So been here investing, figuring out the space as we all do. Everything that I do is usually wrong. So take everything I tell you with a grain of salt, because I've basically made every single mistake that we can make in crypto.
In the book. Yeah. I mean, well, that's the only real way to learn, right? So I think you pay for your tuition money in a way in crypto. So yeah, actually, maybe that's a value add, or it can be if you leverage it right. If you learn from your mistakes. You touched on it in passing. The landscape and crypto, the industry is changing a lot. Um, we like VC funding specifically, I think it's changed a lot. 2 weeks ago, we had on Richard Chen from Varrock VC, one confirmation prior or formally, and he said that a lot of funds over allocated back in 2020, 21, and we're still sort of like dealing with the aftershocks of that. At the
Yeah.
same time, I'm sort of like hearing chatter about, like, for example, like in May, VC funding topped out at 594 million. So that's almost 600 million, right, in funding. So it seems like it's picking up again. Um, what you as like this is your specific field in your domain. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean the industry is changing as a whole. It's becoming more like traditional finance. Previous cycles, you could invest in a project, and the TGE would happen in 3 months, and you would have your tokens within 6 months after that, which was great for VCs, not necessarily for the projects. So sometimes they smartened up, and longer deployment cycle, longer vesting schedules. Valuations got way too crazy. Anything over $1 billion of valuation, in my opinion, is nuts. Or as an early stage, we look under 50, at most 100 million valuation projects. So it's just extremely hard to invest in those if that's your target, because any of the good projects that have good backing, good background, founders that have been there, done that, their valuations go up like crazy very quickly. A lot of these big funds have a lot of money to throw around, so
Yeah.
they make these big rounds. So I think the space has also changed a lot. I think that's also been one of the biggest things. As a fund that invests in infrastructure, a lot of the infrastructure is already here. Like, you don't need another Solana. You don't really need another Ethereum. You don't need another layer zero. You don't need another wormhole. You don't need another Aave, or et cetera, et cetera. Like, a lot of the infrastructure is here for us to build the final piece, which is attracting retail, and getting retail to stay, not just gamble, degen gambling, but actually useful use cases. And that's kind of more of our focus now, because you can only invest in so much infrastructure before you don't really need that much anymore. So the space as far as investing has moved towards more consumer apps and less infrastructure. I would say, we still have ZK coming up. We still have FHE FHE fully, encryption, but those are still years out and not very useful yet. So it's an interesting space. It changes every cycle. If you ask me, like, what's next, I have no idea. Like, I can give you an educated guess, but I couldn't tell you what's going to be the narrative. Even hyperliquid. I went through the phase with DYDX, and something similar happened to DYDX. A lot of people went on the DYDX to do perps, and trade volumes were through the roof.
Yeah.
Of course, hyperliquid is even crazier, because we're in a different cycle. So, hyperliquid and DYDX, if you look at their narrative and their growth story, it's very similar. But this cycle, it's because it's a bigger cycle for, like, traders and degen traders. They've got a lot more volume, and they've also opened up the underlying EVM for others to build on top of. So very smart move on their part. But you see some of these narratives recycle, some of them, move forward, and you get new narratives as well.
By the way, what does your shirt say? Does that say long Bitcoin on your
Long
shirt?
Bitcoin.
It does.
Short the bankers.
And is that a Kaya hat?
Yes, Kaya.
I knew it. Okay. Is that a Portco? Some Portco merch?
Yes, we support Kaya Foundation. We believe that that's where the users are. So we want to build where the users are. Kaya's got a big partnership with Line Messenger with 220 million
right.
users.
Yeah, that was a big snag. They told me about it when I met them. I mean, Line is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kakao talk to. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's like a good example of infrastructure, like pragmatic infrastructure with users already in place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
And what would you say have been some of the biggest challenges so far in the most recent cycle? Like you said before, things change, ideas get recycled. For yourselves at WAGMi, what's been one of the more difficult landscapes this time round to navigate compared to previous cycles?
It's been Bitcoin. So in previous cycles, we noticed that when the large caps go up, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, ultimately once they go up a certain amount, the money, the liquidity starts to rotate into smaller coins, and it rotates into smaller coins. So you get a pump in Bitcoin or Ethereum at 10-20%, and then the altcoins usually go up, a multiple of that, a higher beta of that. And this cycle, it hasn't happened because a lot of the money is going into the ETFs, and it's very hard to rotate that liquidity into other tokens. So it's like in the previous cycles, Bitcoin and Ethereum were gateway drugs to get you into crypto. Once you're in it, you're like, oh, I can buy all these other coins. And then everybody's, those pumps. So you're like, okay, I'm going to buy these other coins. And then that's, the cycle that happens. So for us, for a VC fund, it's like we're doing these VC deals, and a lot of them are completely illiquid until there's a TGE event. And, you go basically, you can show some valuation based on what the latest round of fundraising has been done, what valuation that's been at. And all the clients are just calling us and saying, hey, like BTC is doing this. How's the fund doing? We're like, well, it's doing good, but we haven't released anything yet. And some of the older projects that we had in our first fund, they did pretty well, but some of them haven't done as well as Bitcoin, which makes it very difficult to tell a story. Versus the other cycles where if Bitcoin does well, everything else does even better. So the story is a little bit harder to tell. I don't think that's an issue because as long as we're kind of on the forefront of this stuff, things will move and things will change and the cycle will change. The previous cycle, Bitcoin was not that exciting. Now it's super exciting. Ethereum was more exciting last cycle. Now it's not exciting at all. So Solana was also exciting both cycles, but things adjust. We just need to adjust with it.
Yeah, man. I guess it's times like these, like you wish it was benchmarked against ETH, like instead of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Then it'd be a little better.
Yeah.
It might be pretty good actually, but yeah.
Hey, Steven, touching on something you said earlier about you don't really like these crazy valuations. There's one that's been quite crazy this week. Pump.Fun. I think it's valued at $4 billion.
Yeah, that's insane.
Pretty insane, right? And Pump.Fun, like we're not even at the peak of like meme coin mania. They should have done this like 6 months ago. But yeah, they plan a token sale of 1 billion at a 4 billion valuation. Will you be getting in?
No, not this round. Well, we're going to wait for a higher valuation.
Okay, all right.
No, yeah, that's number one, way out of our investment thesis. Number two is that's insane. I mean, 4 billion valuation. I get I get how they can play the game, but raising 1 billion on 4 billion is like in VC in traditional VC investments. It's like they're tiers. Like you do one, you do your first round at 20 million, you do your second round at 50 million, you do your third round at 100 million. They just went from I think 15 million to a billion, 4 billion.
Yeah,
So,
it was pretty low. Yeah, they didn't raise too much, and yeah, their initial premise, it was like completely separate from what Pump.Fun is today.
yeah.
So yeah, it is quite a big, but like, okay, like on the other hand, yeah, it is like they actually have established, they have proven success. Like, you can make a case that they're one of the most successful protocols this cycle. So it's not like, yeah, it's a little bit different from some other projects where, yeah, I mean, they have like 700M now, like assuming that like some of that is sitting in their bank. I think I don't know what the percent of um, like people are always tracking like when the Pump.Fun wallet is sending Solana to Kraken. So I'm assuming they're sitting on like well north of 9 figures. So yeah, it takes a little more to budge to move the needle for them, I guess.
So I think that they're a valuable company, but are they that valuable? And that's the thing about crypto. It's at the end of the day, valuations have to move where the liquidity is. So, um, we can play games all day long with the tokenomics and the lockup, and how much is goes to the airdrop, and then how much is how much is the inflation of the network, and how much is like unlocked at every month, and then you can pump it before it unlocks. And there's a ton of games that happen in tokenomics, and I think Pump.Fun will probably do pretty well because they're very in tune with the games and how it all works in psychology. Um, but I do warn people that want to get into it is that, hey, be careful. Like it can, as quickly as it goes up, it quickly as it goes down, and it is a very valuable protocol. But there are a lot of valuable protocols in the past, like EOS. EOS raised what 4 billion or 5 billion or something like that over a year, and they're nowhere to be found right now.
Yeah.
And the company that took the 4 billion, 5 billion, they're like they bought Bitcoin with it. so they died like, okay, that works. So there's a lot of protocols that have failed in crypto, and it's all about a lot of it's about narrative. So if the meme coin narrative gets taken over by another protocol like DYDX versus Hyperliquid, right? There's a ton of downside for this. Upside, can it go to 100 billion? If you're saying FDV, sure, maybe, depending on how they play with the tokens
I
and
think
the
it's
market makers.
fully unlocked, or that's what's reported is it's going to be fully unlocked.
That's insane.
Which would be surprising. Yeah. I mean, it's still not even like it was. This is publicized through Block Relay, so like Pump.Fun didn't even fully announce it themselves. But yeah, I mean, there was some previous reports like when they launched their AMM, right? They didn't announce it. It was like a leak, and it turned out to actually, pretty much be like aligned with the leak. But I mean, so like I think I would give it more credit than something like EOS, just from the standpoint like they've this isn't only Pump.Fun either. It's just like Pump.Fun, Hyperliquid, Athena. Like we have like real revenue generating protocols this cycle, which is like a little bit definitely different from like these big, kind of like bloated infrastructure raises in the past. EOS, all this stuff. So yeah, but I mean, like I think people see revenue and then yeah, they start like annualizing it, and they start assuming that it is sticky. So I mean, I think it takes one to see like something like a Hyperliquid or a Pump.Fun where it's so dominant, like a true sector leader, and to see like another, yeah, see like an up and comer kind of take that market share. Like we've seen it, but we haven't seen it for like an extremely profitable protocol at this level, right? Like you've seen, like Blur kind of take OpenSea, but it's not. There was no like liquid tokens attached. Like the revenue was unclear. So I think it'll be interesting to see now that we have multiple protocols in these categories, whether it's stable coins, whether it's perps, meme coins. Yeah, we have very established leaders that are making a lot of money, and yeah, I mean we already kind of seen it. Like you get Pump.Fun. You have some of these other launch pads coming up that were trying to take some of that market share. I mean, Pump.Fun even, yeah, just like a more competitive dynamic, like Pump.Fun putting out their own AMM, taking a slice out of Radium,
Yeah.
right? So Radium's, I think they're still the leader in trading volumes on Solana, but it's Pump.Fun is taking like a significant slice out of that pie. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how these games play when there's real revenues on the table, and then these things have like liquid tokens attached to them.
Yeah, it's a weird
it'll
one,
be,
isn't it? Go on, carry on, Stephen.
no, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. At the end of the day, though, it's you see real revenue. Well, first, let me. I agree with you. Real revenue here is actually a great metric for protocols to actually figure out valuations, but it also caps the valuation of those protocols.
It does.
So it's like it limits the value. If it doesn't make enough money, then the value the value of the tokens are not going to go up. But you got to go back to why Pump.Fun made so much money in the first place. It's because you had a couple of big runners that made a ton of money for investors, and you see this in every cycle. The 2017-18 cycle was the ICO cycle. There were a couple of ICOs that made it big, like Brave, even Civic, which is no longer around. There's quite a few ICOs that happened that a bunch of people, as soon as they bought it, the next day, as soon as they released the tokens, they 10x, 15x, and then it brings in this whole wave of other ICOs. And ETH pumps like crazy because everybody's trying to buy the ICO, and you have to have ETH in order to buy the ICO. And back then, nobody actually trusted USDT. So most people held ETH versus USDT. So at the time, you see the liquidity go from like these couple of ICOs, and it spreads out, and it gets thinner and thinner into these other ICOs. And then there's more and more ICOs. And then we get to a point where there's ICOs with just the white paper. And there's like no product. There's just a white paper that in a website, and people are still jumping into these ICOs. And that happens. The same thing with DeFi Summer. When the last cycle, the DeFi went crazy, and everybody got into a few big ones like Aave. Aave was one that started it really. And then there's a bunch of DeFi all over the place, and every chain has DeFi. Every chain has an Aave. Every chain has a DEX, PancakeSwap, Uniswap. And then, like the 10,000% APYs for, staking your token to get their token, to sell their token. It's eventually collapses. It used to collapse in a month. It collapsed in, a week. It collapsed in the day. So the theme plays out over and over again. And the meme coin is the same thing is happening. You see the big runners, but now it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The valuations are never getting as high as they were before because there's thousands of them now, and everybody's meme coin is the best, and it eventually peters out. So what does that mean for Pump.Fun? In my opinion, that it means that eventually their revenues dry up because they just can't get the people to trade up and bring those volumes in to pump these tokens anymore than they've already been pumped. You might see a return to the OG tokens, the OG meme coins, but in my opinion, the cycle seems like it's burnt itself out already. The liquidity is way too thin, and that's why you don't really see Solana pumping as much as it did earlier this cycle.
It's a ironic one as well because like you were saying about the ICO craze and all these DeFi 10,000 APY tokens, there's a lot of parallels, right, in every cycle. And I feel like Pump.Fun looked at the mistakes OpenSea made in the previous cycle, not launching a token at the peak of NFT mania. And it's almost, they know that the ship's going down eventually, but it's like this sort of last stand, like Saving Private Ryan. They're there trying to defend their position with everything they can, but they know the trajectory of it. And I think one of the really interesting things that you often see is that people try to, in crypto, we try and learn from mistakes, and 90% of the time no one does. But I think this is one instance where they're trying just to get that last bit of money in before things inevitably really do dry up for them. Because there's another parallel, right? In the ICO craze, there was this famous guy who people used to watch his YouTube videos because he had these Excel spreadsheets of all the different ICOs that were coming out, and he had like all these color coordinations, and that was literally what people would watch to try and understand what ICOs to buy into. What we
Yeah.
have now is we have Murad and his meme token list. So like things really do, they don't often repeat exactly, but there is often very similar parallels with each cycle that comes through. But ultimately, when you look at how they all end, it's often with a lot of pain, fire, burning, people losing money. But I think another understated part of Pump.Fun is that I think like the top few wallets from trading volume were MEV bots. There were people, arbitraging between different things, and like actual wallets with trading volume, there was very select few. So
Last month, I just saw this interesting stat. I don't have it on hand, so I can't pull it up, but it's actually almost 50% of wallets on Pump.Fun were actually profitable last month. Like not well, by a large, it's like under $500. Um, but it's actually pretty crazy to think about, right? Like because it is branded as a casino, but that's like I'm not sure how consistent that is like previous months, but that actually is kind of crazy to me. That I think it was like less than 5 wallets that had a P&L above 100K. But the fact that
Yeah.
like it was like
Yeah, I saw
48,
that.
49% that are either breaking even or making $500 on the month, like that's actually not like like that's not destructive. Like there's a lot of worse things to do in crypto. I mean, maybe these other things in crypto to allocate towards like it might sound more productive, but yeah, that's not definitely not horrible at all. So I'm not gonna like I mean 1B like a full full yard that might be a little much, like especially after they already made a bunch of money, right? But I'm definitely not going to count Pump.Fun out, but yeah, the valuation might be a little rich, but I mean they've rolled out their AMM. What is it? They rolled out the live streaming thing again. So I mean, like even though revenues, well, actually, I mean, the revenues have actually been like surprisingly sticky. Like they're definitely down, but they're not like down as you might think. Like for meme coins, right?
Mhm.
You think meme coins, BTC goes from all-time high to like in the 70s. You think they nuke, but they actually the volumes they didn't completely nuke, and they're a little stickier than people thought. And then on the back end, the fundamentals like did improve, like in a way, right? Rolling out their own AMM, that's a pretty big deal. Like taking, I don't know what from like peak to trough, the loss in market cap for Radium was, but it was significant. It was down a lot after it was leaked. Yeah, that Pump.Fun would roll out their own AMM. So I mean, I think it can definitely be like, I don't think they're on their last legs. Basically, valuation might be expensive, but I mean, they're not like they are moving with the market. I mean, like if you use Pump.Fun, it's like a pretty like simplistic kind of app. It's kind of like surprising. Like how did this thing make this much money, right? Versus something like
exactly.
hyper liquid, where it's a pretty like oh okay, I can see, you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean if it works, it works, right? It's been around. It's not like a flash in the pan thing. It's been around for like a year plus. Yeah, it really started kicking off in like early Q2 2024, and yeah, I mean, it's been through ups and downs in the market, through that summer doldrums last year. So yeah, I mean, uh, I think it's interesting to see, and then you can contrast that with the Circle IPO, which
Yes.
what is their valuation actually?
Eight, I think, 8
Eight.
billion.
Okay. Yeah, so it's almost like a polar opposite kind of thing, right? You have an ICO for Pump.Fun, and like super, like degen. The guy doesn't even show his face. No one even knows what the founders look like. Just some dude
Yeah, I
named.
wouldn't count out Pump.Fun, but I would be careful about buying it during the bear the I would buy it during the bear market, when it
Right,
gets
at
really
a more
low.
like distressed. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see how the sale goes. Like, I mean, people were like Circle's IPO even. It was like they paused their process because during the IPO it was like uncovered that they're paying out all this money to Coinbase, and then, but apparently it was like 25. It was like heavily oversubscribed.
Yep.
So that's a little surprising. So I think there's definitely like some disconnect between the anticipated demand for like whether it's IPOs or ICOs and like what actually happens when that day comes. So yeah, we'll see what like it definitely sounds like a lot like 1B for Pump.Fun. We'll see what happens. Like, can they actually fill that demand? But yeah, I mean, we're already seeing it with Circle right now. Is this thing trading or what?
Yeah, I
Nice.
read some stuff that it's like around $40, $42
Okay.
trading already, but I'm too poor for a Bloomberg terminal, so I'm not going to pretend like I can find out exact prices. I think the one last kind of depressing point with Pump.Fun, and I've said this in podcasts before along this line, is in an industry where we pride ourselves on scarcity. Bitcoin in the backdrop, 21 million, there'll never be any more. F the bankers, they print money and debase our purchasing power all the time. We're getting poorer every day. Isn't it kind of ironic how crypto made an app that could just spew out tokens non-stop and like basically created its own shitty version of like a money printer where most people just lose money? So I think that's the only bit. It's my only problem. But other than that, it's a lot
Philosophical qualm.
yeah.
Like a moral object. I mean, okay. I understand it. I mean, to be like, I don't share this. Like, I don't really care. Like, I think it's just kind of funny.
I think
But
that's the
yeah,
beauty of decentralization, though. That's the point.
yeah. People can do
If
whatever they want, like for
Yeah,
better or worse.
anybody can do whatever they want, and that's what's going to happen. That's you kind of have to expect it.
Mhm. It's true.
I thought you were going a different route with this segment, Darren. I thought you were going to talk about all the companies that are buying up Bitcoin as well. That's kind of ironic too. Like all the treasuries and all the reserves. I mean, and not it's not even just BTC, right? It's also Solana, XRP, ETH.
Yeah. XRP. That is the interesting one. Yes. You have treasury companies for XRP. Yeah, I
I
saw
mean,
there's like a Chinese firm. I don't know if they raised or looking to raise in the process. So like 380 M for XRP. It's like
well,
that was interesting to me.
something like that. I mean, there's a whole slew of like this type of like news that's coming out of like companies that you never heard of before, like Sembler Scientific, K-Wave,
Yeah.
K.
Well, yeah, it has to be stuff you never heard of. Like
uh,
that's it has to be something that's kind of like
Well, I think
Darren,
we're seeing like the
you were
thesis
talking earlier
one
about
that
like
you
the
guys raised a couple of weeks ago, right? Where all like
which
these
one?
ghost companies, well, all these ghost companies that
Yeah,
aren't
ghost companies.
pivoting.
Exactly. Yeah, it has to be something you've never heard of. Like that's why they're doing this, right? Like Meta Planet, like yes, it was like a random, it was like a hotel, it's like an emerging market hotel company, and then it was like okay, maybe the revenues weren't doing that good, but we're already listed. Like so, what can we do? Like we can be the first Bitcoin, public representation, in Japan, so you can replicate this for like maybe like the top 10 um, economies or like top 10 capital markets. And yeah, I mean that's kind of like what we're seeing now. I mean, I feel like yeah, I feel like it caps out when you start getting into the same country. Like how many, like I don't think you need more than one in Japan, right? Like
Right.
you're probably just good with Metaplanet. Like in the U.S., they're already differentiating beyond just buying Bitcoin. Like the 21 Capital with Cantor Fitzgerald, like they're doing like Bitcoin lending stuff. Strategies thing. I mean, strategy is like super complicated. They're rolling out like multiple. They have STRD and
Yeah.
STRF and now STRP. So it's like different risk profile. Yeah, products for different risk profiles. People don't want like a more um, di- dividend like product, and then yeah, so like for different risk appetites. So they're already expanding beyond like just the basic, like raise and buy model. And I don't know how many more options like for like kind of like the financial like engineering there are, right? So we have lending, right? We have collateralized lending with 21 Capital. We have like yeah, um, like more controlled risk instruments with strategy and servicing like fixed income funds, right? Like that's the big thing for strategy. So I don't know how many more like little tweaks we have, like how many more iterations can be built on this model before there's like nothing new that you can do. But
I think
I
it's
mean,
smart though.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
taking
definitely
advantage
smart.
of the limited supply of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Eventually these companies buying it up the price has to go up if you get enough people to buy it. That's the point, right? It's a
yeah,
Bitcoin is the first meme coin. There's no real value, nothing behind it. It's a meme coin. As long as you get enough people interested in the meme coin, then the value keeps going up.
Hmm. And it's the game theory of it as well. Like I remember in the previous cycle, you can find a GCR tweet where he writes how he thinks that the next bear market will be caused by nation states who bought into the Bitcoin treasury right at the top and eventually have to capitulate. And it's one of these things where, like, Michael Saylor was the madman for doing it in the previous cycle, but he's accumulated so much now that it becomes the case of, well, shit, either we have to follow suit or we're going to be left behind because there's no longer the cheap debt like we saw in ghost companies, zombie companies years ago. They could buy tons of cheap debt and window dress themselves to see like they're half decent companies where actually they're bleeding out. And we're moving into the next phase of that now, like a game of chess, right? The last
Yeah.
cycle, it was like the opening of a game of chess. Now we're in like the mid game where all these companies are trying to claim their stake, partially from the regulatory oversight, where a lot of people who have brokerage accounts, stocks and shares accounts, people who have their pensions, they aren't able to simply, unless you're in America, they're not easily able to have exposure to Bitcoin unless it's through some of these other companies. I mean, Metaplanet in Japan was one of the highest, most volume traded in a stock during its like a couple of weeks
right,
ago when all of the bonds were going fucky. So it really is this sort of new paradigm, but not necessarily in the, we're going to be rich sense. It's more so in the sense that, when you were a kid, right? You had a friend who lived next door to you. He got a brand new games console. You would go around his house, you play it a little bit. He's got games that you've never played before. As a kid, what's the first thing you do? You go back to your mum or your dad and you say, "Oh my god, I need this games console. He's got it, I don't have it. Like this is bullshit. Come on." And I think this is going to happen on a bigger and bigger scale. How it ends, I don't know. Is it a good thing in terms of price going up? Sure. But does it cause a big bear market in the future, or are fears overhyped? If these companies start trading at a discount, will they capitulate, or is that a time for buyers to step in? I think these are the things I'm thinking of when it comes to these treasury companies.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think there's
Who's
like a
going to hold the
limit.
bag?
Yeah, I mean, there's only like so many large markets though. Like, so you have U.S. So we have a couple of big options in the U.S. But, I mean, there's only some like U.S. already has like a very like strong capital market. Like over the majority of people own stocks in some capacity. A lot of it is like automated through their retirement account. Right, they're not like picking and choosing stocks, but like most countries just aren't like that. And then so yeah, you have like Japan, Germany, you have like these nominally large economies that have yeah they do have like excess capital floating around. Yeah, I think there definitely is like a cap like on the potential. BTC is like a good yeah. I think it's obviously like the strongest one of the assets. I mean the ETH actually Stefano, you could pull up the ETH part in the Pulse newsletter. The ETH ETF inflows have been like surprisingly strong since
Yeah.
last week. Not that strong. It's not like the actual dollar amounts are not very high at all. But yeah, I think we're at yeah, it should be like as of today or as of yesterday, where it's at a new all-time high for total the historical net inflows. No. The ETF.
Yeah, I think it's got the most consecutive days of inflow this year so
Yeah,
far. That's what I read.
yeah, right there. So we published this on Saturday. So yeah, it was like climbing up towards that all-time high from back in should be like early February. I think like February 11 or something like that. But yeah, this week it just continued. Yeah, the inflows really aren't not that much. So yeah, last week it's actually kind of sad like reading it out. Like yeah, it's 7M. Yeah, it's kind of sad that that's news for for Ethereum. But yeah, I mean that is something. And then you had a few red days for the BTC ETFs. So, and then you have all these treasury vehicles for Ethereum as well. I think it was the SBET, yeah,
Yeah.
SharpLink Gaming that raised their target from 425 to 1B. So I think that yeah, they're like in the process of raising. So that'll get I don't know what the window is like for how that gets deployed into Ethereum, but that'll be interesting. You have headed by Joseph Lubin, so I think that's like a prime candidate for like an Ethereum Michael Saylor, right? Like you would want Joseph Lubin, kind of at the helm there, like probably yeah, not really like a better person for that job. So I don't know. I think yeah, an Ethereum price action in the past month has obviously been um, significantly outperforming like all the other L1s and Bitcoin itself. So I don't know. Like we've been shitting on ETH a lot on this show, but like you got to give credit where it's due.
I
So
think
I think it's hit
Grayscale's running out.
I think it's hit rock bottom. I mean, it's so my thesis
maybe
on Ethereum is that if Ethereum doesn't continue its growth compared to others like Solana's doesn't have a moat either. So, like base is just as fast, just as cheap. Um, there are reasons why Solana has done well, and those are valid reasons. But it's like if Ethereum cannot hold on to its kind of lead, then there's no reason why Solana can hold on to its lead in the future. There's somebody else that's going to come in and take Solana's lunch. And so if ETH doesn't survive at all, then none of the smart contract languages will survive. And that's just my personal take on it. So I think the price action is temporary, just like last cycle. Bitcoin's price action was very, very muted compared to everything else. I think ETH will come back. It is still like the best decentralized permissionless network for anybody to build on.
yeah.
And that's where all the TVL is. That's where all the stable coins are. It's like if you had $100 million and you had to put it somewhere, you would put it on ETH. You wouldn't put it on other networks, just because it's
Yeah, I mean
probably
it's mature. Like it's been
Yeah.
around a long, right? It's 2014, right? So yeah, over a decade old at this point. But I mean, I think Solana's getting there as well. Like they've had some upgrades, and yeah, it's definitely matured. Like Solana's obviously younger than Ethereum, but it's definitely matured past the point of something like a Sway, right? For better or worse, where Sway can basically like we talked about this on the last show, like coordinate all the validators in their group chat and freeze 160M. So like I mean yeah, so I think over time Solana becomes more like it could be any chain, but Solana is like the one that's been able to sustain this activity, sustain its valuation, sustain its TVL. It's like a mix of all these things. that defines like success for a chain, and its continued development. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to like keep seeing Solana mature into the future. We'll see if other chains can also follow that progression. Like Sway, I think the ecosystem is definitely a little bit young right now, but there's a lot of like there's a lot of resources going towards like developer onboarding and stuff like that, and the price is like very resilient as well, right? So yeah, I think, and then the other thing is like activity as well. So Solana is like a very activity dominant chain, and Ethereum is like the capital dominant chain. So there definitely is like nuances in how like which one is more sticky, like which one can be more prone towards yeah, like new upstarts kind of like pulling away uh, market share from the incumbent, right? So I mean, Ethereum's like been like the valuations has gone down, but yeah, there's still a ton. Like it's still the leading chain by TVL by multiples, right? So
Talking about ecosystems and chains, Steven, before we close it out, except for like the blue chips, so I'd say like the top three, right? BTC, Ethan, and Solana. Which ecosystems would you be? Which ones are you excited about? Which ones are you looking at with interest?
So in our fund, we invested in some of Ton's ecosystem. We invested in EVA protocol, which is their Aave on Ton. Um, Generally, I'm excited about these consumer focused chains. Ton and Kaya, because that's where the
yeah,
users are, and that's why I think there's a lot of value there, but it needs to be unlocked. Like Sui, I like I like Sway as well. But I really like the tech. The tech, it makes a lot of sense to me. But the user activity isn't there yet. They need something like a Pump.Fun or some viral app to really pull users in. The traditional way of just mercenary liquidity farming is good, but it doesn't. We all know that it's not sticky. So as long as once they move there, they extract the value, they leave. Pump.Fun is actually something that has generated a lot of real users for Solana. So my thinking is that I really like Ton. Their programming language is kind of not very good. Hopefully they're figuring out a way to fix it by using TAC. TAC is another protocol that uses EVM that gets attached to Ton's network somehow. I'm not exactly sure on the details, but I think it's supported by Telegram, so there's a way that they can integrate it directly into Telegram. The wallet inside Telegram is incredible. They're starting to great yield, and this is big for these countries like in Africa where their fiat currency sucks, gets hyperinflated or inflated, and they can get some USDT and they can hold it into their Telegram wallet and actually earn yield off of it.
right.
That's huge.
That's with Athena, right?
Yeah,
The one
yeah.
that was
Athena's on
right?
in Ton. Yeah, and you can do it right in your Telegram
In the
app.
wallet.
Yeah. So that's a huge unlock, I think, in terms of just consumers. It's not a big value because now there's not like they don't have tens of millions of dollars for a bunch of people there, but for a country that doesn't have access to like traditional financial systems like lending and borrowing, Telegram and what they're doing in that ecosystem and could be really useful for them. So hopefully, long-term wise, I see that as a value add to the space. And also Kaya. We're investing in Kaya. We're actually incubating some projects on there too. It's the Southeast Asia version of Ton and Telegram. I think it's got a lot of value because the users there are more sophisticated. They use the app for like payments, not just chat, buying sticker packs and this and that. So if Kaya and Line can unlock that ecosystem and unlock those users into Kaya, that would be huge. Right now, I've been working with Kaya Foundation and Line. It's been difficult because they're still a big company. They still have responsibilities to their shareholders, and they're trying to get this in, but they're trying to get Web3 into it, but they're still hesitant. And each country has a different regulatory space, so you can't put certain apps in it. So right now they're focused primarily on GameFi, which is probably the smart thing to do. But they're doing a big push in the next 3 to 6 months into DeFi stablecoins. They just announced a native USDT on their chain, so you don't have to bridge, and there's none of that risk, which is big for any DeFi ecosystem. So yeah, I see big things coming for Kaya and Line as well. So I would keep an eye on that ecosystem.
It's great.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. I think I definitely resonate with some of what you said, and I think it's like important to note the nuance of like what happens if Pump.Fun, like, yeah, it's no secret like a lot of the trading volumes on Solana are directly or like indirectly, caused by Pump.Fun. So like, well, what happens if Pump.Fun like disappears tomorrow? It's like nothing really. Like Solana just, Solana is like the main loser, right? But like in real life, like nothing actually really happens, right? You'll just go do like your sports betting or whatever. But yeah, if you have something like a ton, like a Kaya, that's able to actually, it's more for ton, where yeah, it has existing adoption in like these emerging markets, Nigeria, places like Lebanon, Turkey, etc. And if this can actually become like a temporary, like an interim, like financial backbone, like, that's completely different, right? Like if you have 100 M in trading volume for like random meme coins, versus like 100 M in trading volumes of like actual, financial services, or like 100 M in TVL, whatever you want to call it, right? Like it's very different. Like you can't just go off the numbers when valuing the chain that way, right? And considering like I guess the necessity of the chain, like for those users, is there's something that like they mess around with in their free time, or just actually like a financial backbone for them. So I think for Ton especially, like I mean Ton and Kai, I think like kind of the only ones in this category, like this super app category. So yeah, definitely
For
looking forward
now,
to seeing
we'll see
more
if
apps.
the
Yeah,
ones jump
maybe
in.
like WorldCoin, WLD is like definitely a different premise, but I could see something around there. They have their own app store as well. But yeah, I think those three could have some big potential.
I mean, Meta is like always tinkering a little bit still with like crypto, and they really haven't found their fit yet. But they own WhatsApp. If they
Yeah,
start
I mean, I
using it,
think they just wanted like stable coins, right? So I think Zuckerberg hinted at it in an interview recently. He's like, oh, maybe we'll mess. So like, yeah, they could roll out like a stable coin, just do payments. But yeah, that is a little different than like an actual, full-fledged like gaming DeFi, like a full-fledged proper like super app ecosystem. But yeah, obviously Meta can't, you can't count them out, right? It's more of like if they care, it'll get done, right? Like if they want to push something out, like it'll get pushed out, and it'll be a major player.
it all
Yeah, it's
depends.
more regulatory issues than anything else.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, we've seen Stripe now, right? So Stripe had like I think it was like around the same time as Meta, like they closed down their Bitcoin payments. I forget when Meta scrapped the Libra DM project. It might have been a couple years later actually than Stripe. But yeah, now Stripe's getting back in the game. I guess it's like a little more intuitive for them, right? Like they're like payments, like that's all they do, right? Versus Meta, it's like you got Instagram, you got all these things. So, but yes, I mean Stripe's gotten back in the game. You have some of these other companies, like Web2 companies, getting more involved, like especially with stable coins, like payments and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the tides are turning, like especially for stable coins. Like probably in the U.S., stable coins are like the most like the most likely sector to have like positive regulatory change, right? Like you have the Genius Act, so like you don't have any other sector that has, um, you know, these kind of things being considered in Congress, or like getting promoted by like the Treasury Secretary, right? Like he's only talking about stablecoins. He's not talking about like crypto AI or like L2s or anything like that, right? So
For sure.
Yeah.
Stablecoin is the main conversation for now. Guys, we got to wrap it up. It was a very interesting conversation. Very interesting to get your views on actually not just like VC funding as it is right now, but actually a bit of like historical context and how the space evolved over time, right? And what the meta was for like funding and how that sort of like spread out the liquidity across the system, and then the meta needs to change. That was very interesting perspective. So Stephen, thank you for being on.
My pleasure, guys.
For sure,
Yeah,
man.
thanks.
I'll catch you soon. I also want to thank the audience for tuning in. This was Market Cap, where we cover and explore current markets together with other sharp market participants. For daily updates, if you like this, you can join our daily Intel Telegram channel. The link is in the bio. And you can also just join our new show where we do live commentary. We're live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on X, YouTube, and soon on LinkedIn as well. And for reminders, turn on your notifications. That's it. Thanks, everyone. Catch you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Peace.